Hi, welcome to engVid. I'm Adam. In today's video, we're going to look at basic car maintenance. Now, some of you are thinking, okay, I don't really need to know this because I don't have a car. But it's always a good idea to know as much as you can about as much as you can, including cars. And keep in mind, it's still English, so it's still a good idea to listen. And you never know when you may be able to help a friend or family member with his or her car. Now, I'm not going to get too serious about this. I'm just going to give you the general things you need to keep in mind when you're looking at your car. A little bit inside, a little bit outside, get a general idea of how to take care of your vehicle. So the first thing you want to do always, or every once in a while, depends on the situation, depends how old your car is, you want to check fluids. Fluid is basically any liquid, anything that flows throughout your car. For example, oil. Now, how do you check your oil? Well, you have a little oil tube sticking out of your engine. It has a dipstick. So basically you pull it out, you clean it with some tissue, you put it back in, and then you pull it out again, and it shows you how much you have, what the level of the oil is. And all of these things, to check all of these things, or most of them, they each have their own little dipstick. Okay, so make sure you know where the dipstick is to check your levels. Now, if you're driving and you have windshield wipers, you always want to make sure you have enough windshield washer fluid. So when you press on the windshield washers, on the wipers, the spray that comes out, that fills up. Make sure you have enough, especially, for example, if you live in Canada in the winter, when the streets are full of snow and ice and salt, and they come on your window. If you don't have this fluid, you could be in a lot of trouble, okay? So make sure you always have some. Once in a while, check your transmission fluid. Now, your transmission is what makes the engine, the power from the engine comes to the transmission, and it basically turns your tires. Now, if you have gears, most people actually these days have an automatic transmission. You put in drive and you go. You don't have to think about all the gears. Some people still have manual transmission where you put it into first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, etc. You have your clutch that you have to engage. Okay, so this is your transmission. That's what makes the wheels turn. Make sure that there's enough fluid so you don't kill your transmission. And again, brake fluid. Your brakes work on hydraulic power. Make sure there's enough fluid in there so the brakes engage and you can actually stop your car. Make sure there's always enough coolant in the radiator. The radiator is that part of the engine that keeps it cool. It doesn't let it get too hot. So the coolant is a special type of fluid that flows through the radiator. It cools as it works and it goes back into the engine, keeps the engine nice and cool. Make sure you have gas. No gas, no driving. Even electric cars still use some gas, right? So then always make sure that your car is fully equipped with the tools it needs. Now you have a tire here. Imagine that's a tire on your car. The thing that keeps the tire connected to the car, these things here, there's 4 or 5 of them. These are called lugs, lug nuts. Lug nuts. So make sure you have a lug wrench. That's usually in your trunk with your spare tire or underneath it. Make sure you have one that properly works. If you have a lock on these lugs, make sure you have the lock so you can open it. A jack. A jack is the thing that you put under your car and you pump, and it raises your car so you can take the tire off. If you have a flat tire, basically like this, if you have a flat tire and you need to replace it, you put your jack underneath, you pump it, raise the car, lug wrench, take off the lugs, take off the tire. You might have to take off a hubcap first. A hubcap is a cover. Some cars have them, some cars don't. You take off the tire, put on the spare, put the lugs back, tighten them, lower the jack, you're good to go. Okay? Always make sure you have jumper cables. Jumper cables are cables that you can connect from your battery to another car's battery. If your battery is dead and you can't start your car, you connect the jumper cables. Somebody will give you a jump. A jump, sometimes it's called a boost. So if your battery is not, if your car's not turning on, you think the battery is dead, maybe you left the lights on all night, find a stranger and ask him, can you give me a jump? Or can you give me a boost? They connect the cables, turn on the engine, you're good to go. Make sure you have a pressure gauge to check your tires. Make sure there's enough air in the tires. And check for, again, PSI, pounds per square inch. You should have enough. It might be written on the tire. You can see how much PSI you need. If you open your car door on the side, it will also say how much PSI your tires need. Make sure they're full. Now we're going to look under the hood. So the front of the car, in most cars, there's the front of the car, you lift the hood and there's the engine. So we're going to look under the hood. What are we going to see there? Again, I'm not going to get too much detail. The things that you need to know that you can fix by yourself without having to go to a mechanic. Mechanics can be very expensive. Spark plugs. So these are the things that basically blow up the gas when it comes into the engine and move the rods and all that. You don't need to know. Spark plugs, they're going to be like 2, 4, 6, well, not 2 anymore, but 4, 6, 8, whatever, however many valves you have. Pull it out, make sure it's clean, make sure the space between is big enough so you have a spark. A spark, gas, boof, power, movement, engine. Okay. Fan belt, make sure you have a fan belt, make sure it's not scratched, make sure it's tight enough. It moves things in the engine. That's good enough. Very easy to see when you open the hood. An alternator is what basically goes back and forth from the battery to make sure there's always power. Make sure that it's working properly. If this goes, if you're trying to turn on your car and it doesn't turn on, maybe the battery is dead, maybe the alternator is dead. You might have to replace it or the starter, etc. Air filter. This cleans the air that comes into your engine, okay? The cleaner it is, the better the air, the better the burning of the gas in your engine. Every once in a while, clean it. Every once in a while, replace it. It basically usually depends on the car, but different sizes. It looks like paper, how do I say, like this. It has grooves and you can see it gets dirty, just replace it. Of course, the whole thing is the engine. And then you have your carburetor. Old cars have carburetors, new cars have fuel injection systems. These are the things that control how much gas is burned and how much air mixes with the gas to get the proper amount of burn. So you want to make sure that this is always clean. Every once in a while, you can go to the auto shop. You can buy a fluid, a cleaner, put it into your gas tank, and it will clean out the carburetor, clean the fuel injection system, and you get proper air and gas flow. Okay, so basically this is the inside of the car. We're going to look a little bit outside and inside the car cabin. Okay, so now we're going to look a little bit around the car and inside the cabin. So you have your windscreen. That's either the glass in front of you as you're driving, so make sure rocks don't hit you. So that's called your windscreen or your windshield. Depends, some people call it differently. You have wipers. Make sure that the wipers are good. Make sure that they're flat. Make sure that the rubber part is still good and solid. It doesn't have cracks in it because it's not going to work properly. It's going to leave streaks if you don't take care of that. Streaks. Basically, it's going to leave lines all along your windshield and makes it very difficult to see, especially on sunny days. Okay? In the front of your car, like the front part, that if you're going to hit something, that's going to be the first thing to hit. That's called your bumper. Make sure that's solid. The side pieces, like on top of the wheels and basically the doors in the back, these are all called fenders. Now, some people think, okay, if I have a scratch or if I have a ding, basically, a ding or a dent. Basically, if somebody took their shopping cart and hit it and I have like a little dent inside my fender, I'll just leave it. I'll fix it some other time. Keep in mind, especially in a place like Canada, in the winter we have a lot of salt on the street. When salt gets in there, it becomes rusty very quick. So you probably want to fix that as soon as possible. Your muffler. So here's your car. We'll pretend that's a car. And So this is your tailpipe. That's where the emissions come out. Okay, that's the tailpipe. We also call it an exhaust pipe. And underneath is a box that makes sure that your engine doesn't sound like an explosion. Makes all the noise very quiet. It muffles the noise. To muffle, to make less, to make quiet. So make sure that your muffler is solid. If there's any hole in it, you will hear it. Your car will be very, very loud. If there's any white smoke or black smoke coming out of your exhaust pipe, probably means you're burning oil or you're burning some other type of fluid. You might want to check where that leak is coming from. Maybe you just need to replace the whole exhaust system, okay? And shocks. So when you're driving and you let's say you're on the road and there's like a big pothole. Again, this is something that happens in cold countries because the ice breaks the street and you have sometimes holes. When you go on the pothole, if your car goes really hard down, that means your shocks are worn. Okay, so you might want to replace the shocks. Shocks should be soft. Bumps shouldn't be too hard. You shouldn't feel like shocked by the bump. Okay, inside or a little bit outside, you have your side view mirror so you can check your blind spot. You have your rear view mirror so you know who's behind you. Okay, make sure these are good and not cracked. If you have a manual transmission, then you have your stick shift, first, second, third, fourth, etc. So we also call it a gear shift. Automatic, you have parking, rear, neutral, drive, etc. Manual, you have your stick, go into all your gears. Where your feet are, automatic, gas, brake. If you have manual transmission, clutch. If your clutch is grinding, like every time you try to put it into a gear, like it's grinding, might need a new clutch. You might need to replace that. Odometer, make sure your odometer is working. It's checking your distance. Every time you move, the odometer goes up and collects the total number of kilometers or miles traveled. If you play with that in Canada, for example, if you try to turn it to go back to reduce the mileage, you can go to jail for that. That's actually a crime. A speedometer, make sure your speedometer, sometimes we just call it a speedo, not like the bathing suit, just like a speedometer, but short speedo. If your speedo is not working and you don't know how fast you're driving, that could be a big issue. Fix that as well. Before the winter comes, make sure your defroster works so your windows don't get all foggy. Make sure your heater works, make sure your vent works. There's basically a fan under the hood. Make sure that it's working properly, everything is good, you're safe for the winter. Now, this is all very basic. The reason you need to know this stuff is so if you go to a mechanic and he probably sees you don't know anything about cars, he can charge you for things that you don't know, that you don't need. Be careful about that. Have some basic knowledge of your car. If you're going to go on a road trip, and I have a very good video about getting ready to go on a road trip, watch that. Make sure your car is in good shape. Make sure if you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, you know at least a little bit of basic maintenance things that you can do to help yourself. Now, if you want to know more about actually driving, check out some of the other videos we have on engVid from some of the other teachers. Alex and Emma have a video on these, very good lessons. Just put driving in the search box at engvid.com and you will see these. And if you have any questions, please go to engvid.com, join the forum. I'll be happy to answer your questions. There's also a quiz where I'll basically test your knowledge a little bit about all this stuff. If you like the video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd love to have you and love to be part of your English lessons. And yeah, come back again soon. See us and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.